What up guys, today I want to talk about some disagreements I've had in my comment section from my last video talking about how strong Ben 10 is, and specifically Alien X himself. I had a couple of you guys, disagreeing with my arguments, which is fine, and giving your own points on why you think Ben 10 and Alien X is stronger than what, I stated he was. I stated he was, I capped his power off to Universal Plus. And I stated that he is not multiversal, he's not hyperversal, he is not, boundless or outerversal, whatever you guys want to, call him after that. I feel like he was only universal and universal plus at best because of the feats that was shown throughout the series. And, there's nothing he really did that would put him above that in my eyes. So for this video, I do want to, go through all the comments I got on that video and go through all the points and, try to refute them and debunk, the arguments that were used by, the people that are disagreeing with me. But I also want to explain a little bit on what happened with that video, because when I uploaded that video, my video did actually get blocked. And there was some parts that I had to cut out. The original video was an hour and 40 minutes long, and YouTube basically said that that video was blocked due to the clips I was using and the audio I was using from the show itself, and they didn't like it, so they blocked it pretty much. Only a few people were able to see it at first, so basically they kind of forced my hand to remove some of the content from the video, specifically the clips itself. So if you see it being cut and edited very weirdly, sorry for that. There was nothing I could do about it. It was YouTube itself that was giving me problems. It already gave me a copyright claim, which is fine. That just means that video wouldn't be monetized. But then it also blocked it, and usually when it blocks it, it could lead to a copyright strike. So I just don't want that. So I just went with cutting out the parts that was going against the rules or whatever, and it ended up cutting out 4 minutes. So it did take away a lot of the evidence that I had, because those clips are the point of the evidence that like showcases, what happened in the story, so I can go based off of it. But I think I did a pretty good job explaining those clips itself afterwards. But you guys did have disagreements, and this is not to, attack you guys. You guys had your points, and I think that's fine. I think that's actually good. If there's ever a video I make where I talk about how strong these characters are that you guys disagree with me, 100% comment in the comment section down below what you guys disagree with me, what parts you disagreed with me, so I can see it. And I didn't respond to any of you guys through, commenting back, because I was waiting and I was wanting to hold back any of my arguments or any of my points until I made this video, so I can get, target all of your guys' comments at once instead of just going individually there. And I think it'll be better just to explain it completely, because a lot of you guys more are going to come probably in the future, maybe, who knows, like a couple months or a year in the future, watching my video at some point and saying, hey, I disagreed with this or that. Then I would just direct you to this video where I went against some of the points, because I'm pretty sure most of the points that anybody's going to use, a lot of you guys already used in the comments in that video. So yeah, in the future, whenever I make these videos, just comment in the comment section down below, and I'll make a response video responding to all of your comments directly through a video format, and just go through all the points that you guys made and try to see if I feel like you guys are right, or or I feel like I was right, and go through my points and why I still believe that, that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. I just had to explain the reason why the video is a little chopped up and cut up weirdly because of, like I said, YouTube. I also do want to give a big shout out to a new subscriber by the name of Pepe Tube or something like that. So yeah, big thank you to you for subscribing to this channel. But like I said, if you guys have a disagreement, just say it in the comment section. I didn't do it right away because I was waiting for quite a bit of comments to come in first before I did it, because of, let's say, 1 or 2 comments, there's no point in making a whole video responding to it. It's best to have multiple comments. And it's been like 5-6 days since that video is dropped, and there's a decent amount of comments in there, but there isn't too many. So there's a few that I had that was going against my point. And since you guys were all pretty normal with your responses and didn't seem like you were being disrespectful at all, I'm gonna be pretty I'm gonna try not to be disrespectful myself. So yeah, I'm just gonna get into it. Let's start with the first person. So the first person said, even if Ben doesn't know their moveset, the Omnitrix gives them a preset moves that know that's how an alien force whenever Ben uses new aliens, he instantly knows how to use them, but he's still a teen with less experience. So what he's saying in this comment is that he's pretty much saying that Ben 10, he doesn't know the full move set of the alien's DNA that he takes initially, but the Omnitrix, the thing about it is that since it's such an advanced machinery, that it basically gives downloads the information of their abilities, or at least a baseline level of their abilities, to Ben, so he knows how to use their powers to a certain extent. That I don't agree with, because if you watched, I think it was Ultimate Aliens. There was one episode where Ben was fighting against Kevin, and Gwen was pulling up, and she was wondering what's happening, why are they attacking each other, and Ben and Kevin stopped, and they told her, like, calm down, it's okay, we're not really fighting, this is us just testing out these new aliens and seeing how their powers and abilities work. And she's like, really? And Ben said, yeah, how do you think we know how these guys' powers work in their names? I basically tested it out with him, and we just play around with it. So no, that isn't true. The Omnitrix doesn't just give him understanding or some knowledge on these characters or these aliens' abilities. He just tested out himself when he's like fighting. Let's say he didn't get to test it out with Kevin prior. We saw in Omniverse, when he used a new alien that he's never used before, he was questioning what can they do, so he had to try to see what they were able to do. So it's not like he knew right away what they were able to do. It did take him some time to try it out. So that is not true at all. Like I said, he admitted in Ultimate Alien that the reason he knows their moveset is because he would train it and practice it on Kevin, who would be his sparring partner, who would help him to understand more of how their abilities work. So that's how he was able to do it. And then in the Omniverse show, where he doesn't have Kevin there, when he used had new aliens that he didn't know before, he didn't really know how to use their powers. He just did random stuff and then was able to see it, and he was like, whoa, he was even caught off guard. So clearly he doesn't have the understanding if he was caught off guard, and on top of the fact that he was questioning what are they capable of. Now you might say, well, he used their abilities pretty quickly and pretty easily, though. That's because those abilities that they have, these aliens specifically, those are natural attributes to their race itself. So it's going to be naturally, him just doing anything is going to naturally work. Like us as humans, using our limbs, it's pretty normal. We don't have any really special, unique abilities, but I guess using our hands or our thumbs is basically our special ability. And yes, even though you would need to understand how to use your hands more properly, still it's something that's it's naturally within us that it's easy to use our hands. So if he was to transform into somebody who was an alien race that doesn't have limbs was to transform into us, it would be pretty easy to use our limbs. It's not something that's hard because that's a baseline attribute that we have. But to use powers that are more complex, like manipulating ki, like in Dragon Ball, that's far more difficult than just using basic powers like shooting out lasers. Even he's caught off guard by what he's done. So that's not true, like I said. And then the next person who had a little bit more better arguments, he says, I do agree Superman and Goku would clear 90% of Ben's aliens in the Omnitrix, but honestly Alien X is the only transformation that can beat Super Goku. He could also be tricky for current Superman, but Superman has dealt with this kind of hacks and reality warping before. You can get Alien X easily above Universal Plus due to the fact that it was stated by Professor Paradox that Alien X is more powerful than the Chrono Navigator, which can destroy all of creation, including the 26 dimensions. The Nelligen mentioned in that were relevant, but actually it's much more. Also the fact that a single DNA fragment from Alien X was able to breach the barrier made by the quantumilia that can withstand the Big Bang, which birthed the entire Ben 10 multiverse. So there's quite a bit of arguments he had there. The other guy just had one, but this guy had multiple, and there were some decent arguments, but I do disagree with him for quite a bit, and I'm going to go through all of them. First, he said Goku and Superman could beat 90% of Ben 10's aliens, but then said that Alien X is the only one that could beat them. Clearly, Ben has over 1 million, aliens, and Alien X is only one alien. So that would be way over 90, more like 99.99999 percent of his aliens because he only has one out of over 1 million that could beat them. So that was a little bit incorrect, but it's not too bad. That's just being a little bit, nitpicky. And then he said he could beat Super Goku with Alien X, but not current Superman, but he could give him a bit of a challenge because he's handled, a reality warping and these other hacks abilities. Which, yes, he's fought people with that, but he's never been able to do anything against them. When Mixiospitalik uses his reality warping, he can't do anything. People said, well, he's above him, but they've never really shown to me any feats that Superman has had where he was able to counteract, Mixiospitalik's, reality warping powers or do something to him. So yes, he's dealt with a lot of people like this, but he usually really can't do anything against them. So that doesn't really make sense. And you guys already know about my opinion on Goku versus Superman. I think Goku's stronger. So if Superman can handle it, but you believe that Goku can't, I just don't agree with that. But that's a different discussion for another time. He said Alien X would beat Super Goku because he believes that he's way more powerful than just Universal. He says he's more than that because, Professor Paradox stated that Alien X is more powerful than the Chrono Navigator, which can destroy all of creations, including 26 dimensions that one creature mentioned. There's a couple of problems with that. First, I watched the show. I did not hear any point where Professor Paradox had mentioned that Alien X is more powerful than the Chrono Navigator. I've never heard him say that at all, so I don't know where you got that. Maybe if you can, link me a clip or something, or tell me a point or what episode that happened. I watched it. I never heard any point that, so I don't agree with that. Also, the Chrono Navigator, you got it incorrect how it works. The Chrono Navigator is not a weapon. It's not something that destroys things. The way the Chrono Navigator works, which in Omnitrix he used it later on as his gauntlet, basically allows Professor Paradox to go through any universe and any dimension throughout all of time. So he can go through any point of time, throughout any universe, throughout any dimension. That's what the Chrono Navigator does. It basically allows you to go through all timelines and all realities and destinations. That has nothing to do with destruction, so I don't get how that would make any sense to say you're more powerful than this device that allows me to travel through different realities, which is really impressive, but it's not a destructive weapon. It doesn't destroy anything, so I don't know how you're going to say it destroys the 26 dimensions. That was also never stated. I don't know where you got that from. It can go through all the 26 dimensions, but it doesn't destroy them. Now, the only effects that I can see that comes from that is that he's mentioned a couple of times before, Professor Paradox, is that when you keep on time traveling, especially to the same specific point in time, you could end up messing up the fabric of space-time and reality, thus destroying the universe. That's why he couldn't go back in I forgot it was Alien Force. He couldn't go back to that one point in the military base because he said, I've traveled to that time too many times and I can't go again. It will end up destroying it because he was using the Chrono Navigator to do so. So I guess you can make that as the argument, but that isn't the same thing. It isn't really destroying it. It's basically messing with time, thus creating the byproduct of warped space-time and the weakening of, time-space to the point where it can collapse in on itself. That isn't destroying it directly. That's just how time traveling works in general. Anytime when you see somebody with a time machine or anything like that, any time machine of you mess with time too much can end up straining the fabric of reality and destroying the universe. That doesn't mean that that time machine is a universe destroying, a machine or technology. All that means is that the abilities of time traveling itself can mess up the fabric of space-time because it's very fragile and something that it's not to be messed with in general. So yes, technically I guess you could destroy these other dimensions, but that's only by messing with time itself. So the direct messing with time does it, not the power to destroy those. So that doesn't really count either. That doesn't upscale it to the 26 dimensions. So I don't know where he got that from. The Chrono Navigator is not a really good argument to make in that regard. And he said that there are more than 26 dimensions, but he said 26 that matter. I think it is a weird way to make that statement because what does that mean? Are there other dimensions that don't matter? Of their higher dimensions, how do they not matter? If there's more than 26, they're probably small, micro dimensions that don't really matter. I guess that's what you're saying, but it would still be around 26 dimension, which is really high. But like I said, he doesn't upscale to it because the Chrono Navigator doesn't destroy the 26 dimensions. It's not a weapon. I don't know where he got that from. But then he also mentioned the fact that the single DNA fragment from Alien X was able to breach the barrier that was made by the Catamino that could withstand the Big Bang, which birthed the entire Ben 10 multiverse. Now let's talk about that. The I think it was called, I forgot, it was like a DNA parasite or whatever. But the DNA parasite, the way the power works, and I saw a couple of you guys making this mistake too, was the fact that you guys think that by giving, specific individual parts of Ben transforming to one of these other aliens, it only gives him a fraction of those aliens as power. It was never stated. Nothing was ever stated that was the case. What it does is he's able to connect to other DNAs and then mix them in together. That's how you get, Ben 10,000 having these fused aliens like Atomic X and stuff. So this thing basically, it doesn't give you a fraction of their power, it just gives you a fraction of their body part. So he just got the arm of the Alien X, and stating that it was able to cut through the barrier, which even the Cartamilia stated that they couldn't do anything to or handle. I would say that's a decent argument. Somebody else made that argument, but also remember the Cartamilia also stated that Ben 10 and Maltruant are so insignificant that they would have no effect on their plans. So even the Cartamilia stated that Alien X, knowing full well obviously Ben 10 has Alien X, they are not going to be on their level. They're not going to be a threat to him anyway. So that's kind of a counter argument to that. And writing, when it comes to these characters, a lot of writers, they don't know how to write really powerful characters consistently and logically, so they will sometimes say stuff that doesn't make sense, like that, like, oh, this barrier, we can't even do anything to it. But then you have a character who they also stated that they're above and that he can't do anything to them, is able to do it. So yes, there's problems there. But he's talking about how the Annihilarch went off and it was gonna form the Ben 10 multiverse. But this is an incorrect understanding of how the Ben 10 multiverse works. I explained in that video specifically how it worked for this specific reason. So he's saying that, well, the bomb, it was able to contain this explosion that was able to create an entire multiverse. So it's in a multiversal level bomb, and he was able to survive that, or cut through this barrier that was able to withstand that, right? That is not true. The Annihilarch that it was used, like I stated, was only universal level. How does it create an entire multiverse if it's just universal? Like I stated in the episode, or that video itself, there was the episode where Professor Paradox explained how the Ben 10 multiverse works. It also the Ben 10 multiverse, he explained, was like a tree. There's the tree trunk where is the original, the prime universe, and then the tree branches that sprout from that prime universe itself. So he stated when Vilgax set off the Chrono Sapien time bomb and it was wiping out all the other timelines, and it wiped them all out except for the specific one where Ben 10 didn't have the Omnitrix but was given to him by Prime Ben. He went back in time with Professor Paradox to the point where Ben Prime first got the watch, or was supposed to get the watch from Vilgax. So they made that event happen so he could get the watch. And he stated specifically himself that the branches of reality were created from this specific moment in time. So without the prime universe, there isn't the multiverse. And it didn't create the multiverse from the jump. The multiverse was created after, after the Ben Prime's universe has already been created, only till the point where he came into contact, or the Omnitrix was going to come into contact with Ben, was when the multiverse actually started to form. So that's how this bomb setting off would create the multiverse. It would create the prime universe, thus leading up the events to where Ben was going to meet or get the Omnitrix, which once he gets to that point, then it was going to create the multiverse branching off from it. So it wasn't going to directly create the multiverse. It was a step-by-step process. You first need to create the prime universe, then the events transpire, then those events transpiring create the multiverse. So it, in a technical aspect, it does create the multiverse, but it actually creates a single universe that creates the multiverse afterwards. So the bomb is not a multiversal level bomb. It's still a universal level bomb. The bomb is not the one creating the multiverse. It just creates the prime universe, thus has an event that creates the multiverse itself. I know it's kind of complex and weird because usually in these stories where they have a multiverse, it all started off at the same time as creation, or there was some real crazy cosmic level thing between cosmic level beings that did it. But in Ben 10, all they did was like, oh, this situation with this human getting into contact with this technology somehow was able to create the multiverse. So it's a little complex, but no, that thing was not able to withstand the multiverse being birthed, or an explosion that would birth in a multiverse, but just a single universe. So yeah, it didn't withstand that. Ben 10, once again, just like the first time when the Annihilar wiped out the universe, just the universe as a whole, and he survived that. That was a universal level of destruction. And then this time, it was the same thing. It was going to create a universe. Of that space already had a universe, it would have destroyed it. And if it didn't, it would have created it. And they themselves specifically mentioned the universe. Even the Cartomilio stated specifically with Ben that, do you want to see the creation of your universe? Not the multiverse, not the omniverse, not all the universes, just his specifically. So it was only one universe. So that argument is also incorrect. And then the next person went on to say that Alien X can literally create a universe. Ben just can have to create a universe where Goku doesn't exist. LOL, easy as fuck. That makes no sense, that argument. So what he's saying is pretty much is Alien X can create universes. So if he's fighting against Goku and let's say he can't beat him, all he has to do is create a universe without Goku. How will that beat Goku then? All that would mean is there's going to be another universe that's going to be created without Goku, but Goku's still going to be there. That's not going to kill that Goku. You do know that, right? Unless you're saying he's going to wipe Goku out of existence and then recreate everything, this time without him. But that would mean that he would have to have the power to be able to wipe him out of existence, which would mean he would have to be as powerful as him or on his level, which, like I said, he is not, and he's not arguing that he isn't on his level. He's not arguing against my point there. He's just saying that, well, he can create a universe without him. It's like, you do know Goku in this fight would be from another universe. He wouldn't be from Ben 10's universe anyway, so he would just be creating his own universe no matter what. That wouldn't affect Goku. The only way this would affect Goku is if he obliterates Goku himself. But if he can do that, then why would he need to recreate a whole universe? He'll be powerful enough to wipe him out of existence, which I stated that Goku would be too powerful for him. So you would need to argue that Alien X is more powerful than Goku, or on his level or close to it, which you weren't arguing that. You're just saying, well, he has this hacks ability that can bypass that. But the way that it works is, it doesn't make any sense. I don't get the logical point of this. Like, you're creating a universe, okay, congratulations, you created another universe that doesn't have Goku. That same Goku that's there is not going to be affected. He's still going to be there to whoop your ass. I don't know how that's going to stop him from beating your ass. Just think about this logically. Let's say Goku pulls up on him. He's fighting Alien X. Alien X can't beat him. He's like, you know what, screw this, I'm going to recreate the universe. He recreates the universe. The universe is going to change, but it's not going to affect Goku because he cannot wipe out Goku because he's above him in power. So I don't get the logic of why the fuck that would even matter. So that doesn't make any sense. I think that was kind of the worst argument I heard here. The other two were kind of decent, especially the last one. That one was pretty good, but this one was pretty weak. But then somebody else says and goes on to say, the problem is you guys like you see things go boom. Well, most characters just don't have that range of effect on reality. SB, their powers can stretch as far as that would why Kratos can damage and kill multiversal level beings, but he punches rocks and he's still there, but still can damage them. Sorry, brother, I don't want to make fun of you, but your grammar is horrible. I usually have bad grammar, and I'm not the great, but like writing and like grammar and spelling, but this is atrocious. Even like what I'm saying at least has like the words are correct. So sorry if I'm bullying you, but it is really hard to read what you're trying to say. So what he's saying, and what I got from this comment was he's saying that the problem with people like me is we like to go specifically based off of just explosions and destructive power, and that we don't really take into consideration beings who have the ability to, warp reality and stuff like that. But I don't know how that's an argument. Like, where's your argument that he's beyond universal then there? I don't get the point. So what are you trying to say? You're saying that we specifically just have to see destructive stuff. I'm not saying that we have to see those levels on that of destruction, but at least give us a statement that Alien X is multiversal. We've only got statements where he was universal, he survived a universe destroying, explosion, he, created a universe. Everything that he did was connected to a universe. The only time that there wasn't a universal thing was when the Chrono Sapien time bomb went off and it was wiping out the entire multiverse, and he got wiped out with it along with it too. So That doesn't work. And then he goes into explain it using Kratos as an argument, saying he is able to kill multiversal level beings, but not able to damage, but barely damages rocks. I've mentioned on this channel before about characters being able to, minimize the destruction of their power. One of the arguments that a lot of people use against Dragon Ball characters is, if these guys are this powerful and they can destroy planets or universe, then how come when they fight they only destroy a small area? And I talked about before about being able to control the area of effect. So it's not like I don't believe in that. I do. It's just that there's nothing arguing on Ben 10's point that will put him above that. And the Kratos thing, I'll say this now. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about how overly powerful Kratos is and how he beats multiversal level beings and this and that. And that's kind of a thing that people were going by for quite a bit. I remember I made a video reacting to how powerful Kratos is. I think it was him versus, what's his name? Asura from Asura's Wrath. And the guy was saying he was multiversal, this and that. But recently, a lot of people have been debunking that and proving that wrong. I saw a TikTok on it specifically where somebody showed that that was incorrect, because there was the comic where he was fighting against this like mythological, beast. It was like this giant elephant thing, a creature or rhino thing, and Kratos didn't have his weapons. He tried to attack it with his fist, did no damage, and was getting swiped and getting beaten up. So he got beaten up by just an animal. Yes, it might be a a magical animal, but still, it's not going to be this magical animal. I don't believe is going to be a multiversal level threat. So people have been debunking and showcasing, throughout the comics, that Kratos cannot beat creatures without his weapons, and even with his weapons, he's only beating creatures that are, animals. He's struggling against animals that are magical, that are clearly not multiversal level, and any multiversal level feats is just lore stuff that he doesn't match up to, and that are inconsistent as hell because they don't really care too much about it. So yeah, Kratos also can't do that. But then he goes on to make another argument. He goes on to say, what is your problem with multiversal level beings being infinite? In the same clip you said for the multiversal being 1000 universes, the guy said all the universes are infinitesimal, which means infinite, and Alien X is literally said to be a higher dimensional being. So having 100 dimensions is possible. So lowball Alien X is hyperversal. So let's talk about a couple of these problems. First, he's saying, what's your problem with these guys being multiverses with infinite multiverses and stuff like that? The problem with me for that is that's a big, bold claim and statement to make. If you're going to make something like that, which upscales not only the cosmology or these characters' powers, you have to show proof. It's one thing to make a regular claim about how powerful they are, but when you're making these more ridiculously outlandish ones without any evidence, I'm not just going to go with it and say 100% that that's the case. You have to be skeptical about it. People, we hear infinity all the time in DC, even before the New 52 and before post-crisis, the pre-crisis event where they had the Anti-Monitor showing up. They say the multiverse is infinite, but then the Anti-Monitor wiped out like 1,000 universes, and then over 1,000 universes, and then there was only 5 universes left. So he wiped out a finite amount of universes, and there was a finite amount of universes left. If he if he wiped out a finite amount and then there was finite left, that's clearly not infinite. That showcases that is against it. But we hear these statements all the time. It's a lot of times when authors write these stuff like this character's omnipotent or they're a god or this or that, it's very hyperbolic. It's not always 100% true unless it is proven to be true. And my argument against it is when Professor Paradox was showing them the other universes and in that dimension that was outside of all the other universes, which I call hyperspace or whatever, and that hyperspace dimension where you see the other universes, if there was clearly truly infinite universes, there would be no space between them. These universes would be all bunched up together. There wouldn't be so much distance. How do you have an infinite amount of universes in a dimension? Let's say even if the dimension is infinite. Okay, the dimension is infinite, but still, it would be full with infinite universes, so it would have no space. There would be no space between them, but we do not see infinite universes. And he specifically mentioned there's hundreds of these universes. If there was infinite, he would just straight up said infinite in general. And yes, he did mention infinitesimal, however you pronounce it. That's Latin for infinite. So you're saying, yes, in infinite universes. But it was a throwaway line that he said. He didn't say it, confidently or proving it. He's just saying that there's infinite possibilities for other universes, but that doesn't mean that there is an infinite amount of universes. You get what I'm saying? And like I said, if there was infinite in that dimension that we saw, how is there space between these universes? If there's an infinite amount of, certain things in a space, even if that space is infinite, it will be full. So you have infinite within infinite. There would be basically it's like putting two sheets that are the same size on top of each other. There would be no space between those, the corners or the edges of those two papers on top of each other, because they would be exactly the same size. They would cover the entire span, but there wasn't. There was a bunch of holes. There was a bunch of areas that they didn't have it. They would have had way more than just that, right? So that's why I don't really believe that that's the case. If there was, they would have shown more. They would have explained more. They wouldn't just have one instance where they have one throwaway line. They had multiple times where they mentioned a couple hundred universes, but only one time that they said infinite, and it wasn't 100% like proven. It was really hyperbolic. So unless you guys can prove to me that it wasn't hyperbolic and have a logical argument why that dimension didn't have the entire space filled out with universes, then there's nothing really you can say there. But then he also went on to say that, saying that Alien X is literally said to be a higher dimensional being, so having 100 dimensional possibilities is lowball for Alien X. How does that make it 100? So because he's stated to be a higher dimensional being and there's higher dimensions, like 26 dimensions, how does that lead to just 100 dimensions or an infinite amount of dimensions? You do know universes and dimensions are two different things. Yes, you hear the words being used, pretty much similarly, but the problem with the word dimension is there's two types of dimensions. There's dimensions as reality or dimensions as a higher planes of existence. Those two forms of dimensions are significantly different. Just having an infinite amount of universes does not mean that you would have an infinite amount of dimensions. Your dimensions does not increase infinitely because due to the infinite amount of universes that you have specifically. That doesn't make any sense. And he's saying that, well, Alien X was stated to be a higher dimensional being. So just because he was stated to be a higher dimensional being, that automatically means he's 100 dimensional or infinitely dimensional. They didn't say that he was an infinitely a dimensional being, just a higher dimensional being. You do know we reside in the 3rd/4th dimension. So a higher dimensional being could be either 4th or 5th dimensional being. That does not mean he has to be literally the highest peak. That is just high. That's like those no limit fallacies when we see characters who have crazy abilities. Like, this ability works on it's very powerful and this and that. It can bypass this, and then people say that means it can work on everybody. That's not how it works, and that's not what it was specifically stated. So when it comes to Ben 10 state, Alien X being stated to be a higher dimensional being, I don't know why you would go to the most extreme and stated that he would be that high. He could have just been one higher dimension than they're in. They're in the 3rd dimension, so being a 4th dimensional being is already being higher dimensional, and that's nowhere near that. And it does make more sense for him to be 4th dimensional, since one, he has the ability to manipulate all of space and time throughout the universe, which is a 3-dimensional universe, and to do that you would have to be 4th dimensional, and the fact that he survived the universe being destroyed, that would also mean that he would be 4th dimensional, which still technically would make him a higher dimensional being. So like I said, he does not have to be ridiculously way higher. I don't know where he got that. Obviously they said he's a higher dimensional being, that means he's 100 dimensional and he's hyperversal. Or he's just, 4D, meaning that he's universal or universal plus. I don't know why you had to jump to that high. But then the person who had the longest response and the most, arguments, and I would say some of the more decent arguments besides the second guy that I went through, and he was actually the reason that I made the video in the first place, because he commented on one of my videos. He had a whole laundry list of, statements about Ben 10 and the cosmology and Alien X and how powerful they are, and he went through it. So I was like, you know what, I told him I haven't watched the show in a while. I don't really remember everything specifically. I know some stuff, but not everything. I'm gonna have to rewatch it again before I get into it. So I did it, and then he responded on this video pretty respectfully, though I might add. He first just gives me a shout out for hitting over 500 subscribers, but then he goes on to say, Dunn made this is a comment will be debunking all the points in the videos. I'll only focus on debunking your cosmology, your Alien X scaling, and your fusion scaling. I focus on other debunks. The comments will be way too long. It was already way too long, but yeah, thanks. So he goes on to say the cosmology in the episode Ben 10 returns. Professor Paradox says there's hundreds of universes, but after Ben 10,000 says etc. Paradox says infinitum, which is Latin for infinite, which confirms there are infinite universes. Also backs up multiple authors' statements saying the same thing. Now, for the author statements, and unlike the other ones where I read the entire thing and then I went through each one, this one is way too long to do that. So I'm going to go through, read BC. He split up to a couple different parts, and I'm going to go through each of those different parts. So I'm going to read out first, and then I'm going to go through it. So I'm going to go through this first part. He's stating that, that the authors have stated that there's infinite. I don't know about that. I've only checked the show out. When I do these ones, I don't go for these author ones because there's too many. It's hard to find them directly, and I just feel like it's too much. Also, a lot of these authors, when you have a show or these series where you have multiple writers, it's kind of hard for them to get consistent with their, arguments, because there's a lot of writers that have different opinions. And just because the writer says it doesn't mean these writers truly believe in it or really mean it. So I don't know what they said, so I can't say anything truly about that. But I already talked about this, about him stating that there's infinite. I stated in the dimension that they were in, they didn't show infinite. If there was infinite amount of universes, there wouldn't be any space in that dimension. So that's why I don't believe it. Also, just because he said it, it's more of a hyperbolic statement. They stated hundreds. And he said, when he said, Paradox says, Ben 10 says, etc. Etc. means that there's other dimensions and stuff outside the multiverse, but that doesn't mean that there's other, infinite universes. Like I said, there's possibly an infinite amount of possibilities, but that doesn't mean that there's infinite universes itself. But like I said, the biggest problem with this is one statement states infinite, but has no backing, and we're supposed to just go with it and not just believe it's a hyperbolic statement. We're just supposed to believe it because of that. But when there's multiple statements stating there's hundreds, we're supposed to ignore that because it doesn't fit the narrative of you want it to be, infinite. But then he goes on to say in the episode Busy Box, season 3 of Alien Force, Ben 10 meets Knowledgeon, who says there are 26 dimensions that matter, which confirm there's at least 27 dimensions in the Prime universe. At least there is evidence that there's infinite dimensions via Ben meeting a higher dimensional being who stated he's infinite dimensional in a canon comic, and is stated multiple times by the co-writers that there's infinite dimensions. So let's go into that point. BC then transitions to something different. Now that episode, I will admit, I did skip some episodes because I felt like some episodes were just filler. When I rewatched the show, I was like, a lot of these episodes don't really matter, they're filler, so I probably skipped that one. And if I didn't, I would have put that in the video. I just didn't see it. I was even looking for it. I was like, what the hell is this? Because I remember I saw somebody else's video right after I finished mine, and they showed that, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Where did it show? So I was trying to find it, and I thought there was some, like, the animated movies, but there was nothing there, so I guess it was that episode. But yeah, he states that there's, 26 dimensions that matter, so there's at least 27, and he said in the Prime universe at least, and there's, evidence for infinite dimensions via being, Ben meeting a higher dimensional being, stating that there's infinite dimensions in a, comic book canon. And then one of the co-creators co-signed that. Once again, like I said, I don't check out those guys, so I don't know if the co-creators literally said that. But like I said, we have writers always making contradictions to their own writing, so it really doesn't matter unless if what was shown in the show, lines up with that argument. Now, 26, he says 27 dimensions. That's not how dimensions work. You don't add an extra dimension onto that said dimension already. There wouldn't be more than that. He said 26 that matter. Now, that's such a weird way to state it. I do think that there's only 26 dimensions in the Ben 10, cosmology as a whole. The matter, because what does that mean? If there's higher dimensions, wouldn't they matter more? Wouldn't there be even more impressive? The only reason they wouldn't matter is if there are lower dimensions that don't really matter, or don't matter in the sense of they don't really have any effect or that impressive. So even if there are other dimensions, these are lower level dimensions that don't really upscale the cosmology that much, because the 26 are the more powerful ones that matter. So I wouldn't say there's above that, and that doesn't mean that, once again, that there's infinite dimensions. Because even if, let's say, for argument's sake, that there's more than 26, because he says that those are the ones that matter, that doesn't mean that there's infinite dimensions. And once again, like I stated, having an infinite amount of universe does not mean there's infinite dimensions. The way string theory shows us dimensions is basically like the first dimension is length, the second dimension is width, length and width, the third dimension is depth, the fourth dimension is time, the fifth dimension is a parallel universe that is a little bit different. Then the sixth dimension is the collection of all those universes, so the entire multiverse. And then the seventh dimension is like I think hypertime or something like that. And then it keeps on upscaling afterwards. After that, the original there was only like 12 dimensions, and the 26th one was like mathematical equations that aren't really technically dimensions itself. Those are just like mathematical equations. But some of these sci-fi or comic book stuff, they take it and they run with it however they want, because real life science doesn't matter fully. But for, like I said, for that, those higher dimensions, they do not increase by, at most they would go up to like 6 dimensional, but they don't increase above that by having infinite amount of universes. That doesn't, just because, let's say like Marvel Cosmology has infinite dimensions does not mean that, or infinite universes, does not mean that they would have infinite dimensions or infinitely dimensional. That does not make sense. That's a complete clear-cut misunderstanding on how dimensionality works. And I know this guy does not understand fully how dimensionality works because of one thing he said specifically in this argument itself. He stated that there is 27 dimensions in the prime universe at least. So he's basically saying that there's 26 or 27 dimensions in the prime universe, and then all these other universes have other dimensions, like 27 dimensions in there. You do not understand how dimensions work, do you? Dimensions, these higher planes of dimensions or existence, do not occupy in the same universe. There isn't a subset of multiple higher dimensions within each universe. You do know they upscale above it. So let's say if we have the fifth dimension would upscale outside of the multiverse. It would not be contained within a universe. And this is important because later on he states something that would make Ben 10 sound more powerful, but it doesn't make any sense. So his point is that, well, the Ben 10 universe, the prime universe itself has 26 dimensions. That's not how it works. These 26 dimensions would be outside of not only the prime universe, but the multiverse as a whole, and the omniverse. Not the omniverse, because the omniverse would contain everything, but it would be outside of the multiverse. That's not how dimensionality works. If you say this in a debate, people are going to laugh at you. Like, the fifth dimension is above, literally, our reality. Like, Mixie in DC, he's in the fifth dimension. He's outside of the DC multiverse. It's not, his fifth dimension is not contained within the multiverse itself. I don't know where you got that from. The Cartoomelia, they came from a higher dimension, lowering themselves down to the third dimension to create the universe there for an experiment in their own dimension, which is outside of that. Another example for that is Beyonder, who is a character I did a video on not too long ago, where he resided in a dimension or a reality that was outside of the Marvel multiverse, and it was a realm that was infinite and above that. He was a higher dimensional being. He did not reside within the universe or even the multiverse. He was outside of it. That's not how it works. So that argument there is incorrect itself, and that kind of shows me your understanding on or your lack of understanding on how cosmology works already. And this is why I can't take your argument seriously with saying, well, there's infinite and stuff, and then there's infinite dimensions. Because if you knew anything about dimensionality, you would know that having those 26 dimensions would not be contained within it. They would be outside of it. That's why they're called higher dimensions. If they're within the third universe or the third dimension, how would they be higher dimensions? They're above the 3D universes. Come on, man. That's just a simple understanding of how dimensionality works. Because like I said, if he's saying that if you can destroy this universe, then you can destroy 26 dimensions, and if you destroy all the other multiverse, then you can destroy an infinite amount of them. That's not how it works. Those dimensions would be outside of that. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say right there. Some of you guys might be a little confused, so sorry if I didn't explain it very well, but all I'm saying is you can have infinite universes. Those dimensions are not going to be housed within those universes. They're going to be outside of it. So by his logic, he thinks that there's 26 dimensions within the Ben 10 Prime universe, and then there's 26 into all the other ones. Nope. the Ben 10 universe itself is the third dimension. The guy that mentioned it, he was talking about the dimensions outside of that. He came to their universe, which was the third dimension, where he lives in a plane of existence that's outside of the multiverse as a whole. So, wrong completely there. He said that in Ben 10, he's a higher dimensional being who stated he was infinitely dimensional in the comics. I don't know about that either. I actually did check out the comic books. I did not see any impressive feat scaling on that level. Maybe I just didn't get the right one, so send me that one so I can see it. But once again, hyperbolic statement. He could have been a higher dimensional being, but that doesn't mean he was an infinite dimensional being unless he proved it or shown something that would put him at infinite level of dimensionality. He's just going with it because he's like, oh, well, the writers say it, and this character stated that there's higher dimensions, so if this character says it, then that must be true. So it's like, no, not really. The character could be still a higher dimensional being, but we have characters that stated they have infinite power, boundless power. That doesn't mean it's true. A lot of characters that say that still get beaten by characters who don't have infinite or boundless power. But I think I went on that topic quite a bit. It was important because it's something he talks about later. But then he goes on to say, Alien X, Ben being able to take the universe as expanded before as a hyperversal feat, at least Ben could stop the Nihilarg. As Alien X is, he just never tried. When you see when the flashback stops, the same Nihilarg in the finale. So a feedback could... Oh yeah, it was feedback, he said, sorry. So feedback could do it, same can Alien X. Same goes for the Chrono Sapien time bomb. If Clockwork can bring back infinite dimensions, Alien X can definitely do the same. So let's go to that problem now. This is why I said it's specifically important to talk about that, because when you don't understand, dimensionality in these cosmologies and these, quantum physics and stuff like this, you're going to say stuff that makes no sense and then makes your argument kind of look dumb. So here he's saying that Ben 10 being able to take the universe expanding, taking the universe as explained above is a hyperversal feat, because he's stating that by that being stating that there's 26 dimensions, that means that there's 26 dimensions housing in the prime universe alone. So the bomb, though it destroyed a universe, it houses 26 dimensions within it. So that technically wiped out 26 dimensions, and Ben was able to survive it in Alien X and recreate it. So that means he's 26 dimensional. Wrong. 26 dimensions, when there's higher dimensions, they do not house in a smaller dimension. They're outside of that. Most likely the smaller dimension is housed in the bigger one. So like, let's say you have a bag and you have a marble. The marble is the third dimension. The bag is going to be the fourth dimension. So the bag is going to have all these marbles in it. Those marbles are going to be in a fourth dimension. You're not going to have the fourth dimension within the third dimension. You're going to have it connected to it, but you're not going to have it within it. Or if you go to the fifth dimension is not going to be housed inside of it. The third dimension is going to be. So when the Nihilarg went off and destroyed the universe, it didn't affect other dimensions or the other realities. It only destroyed one three-dimensional universe, which would mean that bomb is a fourth dimensional level bomb. Get what I'm saying? Whatever it destroys within that universe would be three-dimensional. And if it's able to destroy the entire universe, then it's fourth-dimensional. It does not upscale any more above that unless it had more power than that. So that is incorrect. That's why he got him to hyperversal. That's why a lot of you guys are getting him to hyperversal by saying, well, that being stated there's higher 26 dimensions or higher dimensions, and that means it's in the universe. That's not how it works. That's not how any of that shit works. The Cartoomelia do not exist within the Ben 10 Prime universe. They exist outside of it. They're above it. They scale above it. They don't scale within it. That is incorrect. So wrong. That is not true. That was one of his biggest arguments for why he is, hyperversal, because he's saying that if it has those 26 dimensions and if that bomb wiped out the universe, then it wiped out those 26 dimensions along with it, meaning that he would be hyperversal at least. No, because it doesn't house 26 dimensions. They house the universes within those 26 dimensions. So he got it backwards, and it was just illogical. So no, it would still be just a universal level feat. And then he said Ben could have stopped the Nihilarg, as Alien X just never tried. We see this when feedback stops the Nihilarg in the final episode. There's two problems with this. First, no, he could not have stopped the Nihilarg. He literally stated it himself when he was talking to the the cosmic beings within Alien X, he's like, that's the universe, that's everything I know, why don't we stop it? And they literally stated, it's too late to stop the Annihilarch now. That's why he recreated the universe. Why would... You're telling me he didn't try to stop the destruction of the universe? He would rather just let the universe get destroyed and then just recreate it in his own memory and image, when he could simply just stop it from happening, which that's what he wanted more so, and they themselves stated that they couldn't stop it, it's already happened. So that is not true at all. That's a complete lie. That they literally stated themselves they couldn't stop it. And why would Ben 10 go to such an extreme length of recreating the universe in his own mind instead of just stopping the Annihilarch from going off and reversing it? That's just wrong. I don't know where you got that. I don't know what your argument is there for that. Honestly, that's just ridiculous, in my opinion, that you're trying to go with that, statement. But then also the fact that he's saying feedback was able to handle it. Did you not forget what I explained in that video in the clip? I don't know if it cut out when I did the editing, but when he had the little alien thing on him, the little slime thing, he was going through alien feedback and all these other aliens, you see when Ben 10 detransforms, the Alien X, the little alien on his arm, transformed into Alien X to do that. And then when it went back, it got the Alien X to go away, and it went back into the watch. So it wasn't because feedback did it himself. He used feedback's alien, but then turned a part of him into Alien X, which was the parasitic alien DNA creature on him that turned into it, and then when he went off, it detransformed back. And because Ben 10 knew that the Omnitrix would give him that, because that was the only alien that he was able to use to stop the universe from being destroyed. If feedback could do it on his own, why would he use Alien X? Once again, let's think logically. Why would you use Alien X instead of feedback? Feedback is an alien that he likes more. It's an alien that he could control easier. When he was using Alien X, he didn't even want to use it. To the point where every time when Rook kept on mentioning, he's like, no, I'm not going to use it, because of how serious and how much of it was too much to use, because he knows that once when he uses it, he's going to be stuck there with those two people arguing, and he doesn't have time for that, and he doesn't want to be stuck there. So feedback could do it himself. Why didn't he just transform into feedback and then absorb the energy from the Annihilarch to prevent it from destroying it, instead of going to the more extreme using Alien X, an alien he wanted to avoid at all cost? It makes no sense. And it makes even less sense when he got pulled up to the court by the Alien X species, and they were holding him in court, and he was going to get in trouble for literally recreating the universe. If he could have just avoided that, he would have just done that. And like I said, if feedback had that power, why did he use Alien X? Why did he go to extreme length of using Alien X, an alien that he specifically tries to avoid using as best as possible? Why wouldn't he just use feedback himself? So that also doesn't make any sense at all there. And then, like I said, the only reason he was able to handle it was because the symbiote turned into Alien X to prevent it, because the watch changed him into that. So once again, incorrect there. Then he said the Chronosapien time bomb that went off. Clockwork brought back everybody from infinite dimensions. Once again, infinite dimensions, it wiped out the timelines, the universes. That doesn't mean it wiped out all the dimensions. It would still be high dimensional tier, like maybe 5 or 6 dimensional, but it wouldn't be all the way to the full extent. So that isn't true. Infinite universes doesn't mean infinite dimensions. Those two things are not exactly correlating. But yes, was he able to bring back the timelines? Yeah, but the problem with that is the way he's making it sound out to be is he used Clockwork, and Clockwork just brought back all the timelines just like that. If that was the case, why didn't Ben 10's Omnitrix, because we already know in the ending that it switches to whichever alien that he needs to help him, so it doesn't, because it wouldn't let him die. You had all those other Ben 10s there. They all had Omnitrixes. They all had Alien X, and none of their watches went off to set off to Alien X himself to reverse the effects of this Chronosapien time bomb. They got completely annihilated by it. But there's a failsafe that would protect him, but it didn't activate. Why? Because it couldn't do anything against the situation. And the chronosapien that he was able to bring back. So what happened was Paradox, when he took the other Ben 10 to the pocket dimension, he brought him back. He actually trained him to understand how to use his abilities, and he trained him specifically with Clockwork. Clockwork, the way he brought it back wasn't by just using his power and just bringing it back. He was able to detect a time anomaly, which was the chronosapien time bomb. That was not natural. He detected that Vilgax used a chronosapien time bomb and then reversed the effects of the chronosapien time bomb itself, but not the damage that was done. So let's say with his time power, when he shot it up in the air, he brought back all the Ben 10s that were erased first, and the effect that the chronosapien time bomb had before it even went off. So it wasn't the effects of the universes being erased, it was the effects of the bomb itself going off first. So he rewinded before the bomb could even go off and stopped the event of that happening. It wasn't just he used his power to warp reality or all of time to do it. He detected an anomaly, he saw specifically what happened, and then he targeted what to do to fix the anomaly, and that was bringing back all the Ben 10s. By bringing them back, especially Ben Prime, it brought back the multiverse itself, thus bringing back the entire timelines as a whole. So no, he didn't have the power to, just simply go against. He didn't just have the power to simply go against what's the thing called, the chronosapien time bomb and the reality warping stuff. Because like I said, if that was the case, then the Omnitrix would have had the failsafe go off for all those other Ben 10s, turning them into Alien X, basically having him do it if he's way more powerful than Clockwork. Clockwork is only able to do it because the chronosapien time bomb is literally, it's from his species. It literally uses the time abilities that they use to a higher extent. All he had to do is reverse the effects of the bomb itself, or reverse the bomb itself to reverse the effects directly. But he didn't bring back the timelines or the universes. When he shot that beam into the sky, he wasn't bringing back the universes and the timelines. He was reversing the effect of the bomb going off and bringing back specifically, what's the thing called? The Ben 10s, thus reversing the effects that it had. So that's incorrect. And he used that because I mentioned the fact that Ben 10,000 used Atomic X, which is a way more powerful version of Alien X, and he jumped in and he got obliterated. But he had a counter argument to that himself specifically, and he went on to say why the fusion of Atomic X is actually technically weaker, or these fusions are weaker. So yeah, let's get back to that, like the fusions and the Atomic X. Let's go through all of that now. He says Atomic X is not stronger than Alien X. This is a common misconception. Atomic X is weaker than a normal Alien X. It is explained as in OS that fusions are what is OS? I'm trying to think of what that is. But he says fusions are weaker. We see this when Ben accidentally took the face plate off of the Omnitrix, and temporarily had access to fusions, and it was stated that Ben's fusions were weaker than Ben's normal aliens, which is why he had to get the faceplant back from Dr. Animal. As in the episode, it is also stated that Kevin 11's abilities were weaker than Ben's abilities, because Ben literally says, "Too bad your powers are only 1/10 as strong as mine." As he shatters Kevin's diamond head, shreds it with ease. As Diamond Head on this canon, we see Atomic X is consistently worse than the other aliens. He couldn't do anything against the chronosapien time bomb, but Clockwork did, and he got bullied by another chronosapien, so no fusions are not stronger than the whole Alien X. So let's get into this. He stated the fusions are not stronger, and it's a misconception that Atomic X would be stronger. So you're telling me Ben 10,000, who's the way more stronger and more older and mature version of Ben 10, is using weaker aliens? That makes somehow logical sense that he's using weaker aliens than his younger self. Why would he even have the fusion self, the fused aliens? Why wouldn't he just go to Azimuth and have them fixed? It makes them weaker. There's no point of that then. That's just dumb. And then on top of it, the fact that he said, the faceplate of the Omnitrix being broken and did the fusions, because that was an unnatural way. The Omnitrix was damaged. It was not doing it in a proper way of fusing them. That's not the right way to fuse the aliens together. So when he was using it, that time, it was messed up. It needed to be fixed. Because if that was the case that, it's weaker, then wouldn't Ben 10,000 done the same thing? Wouldn't he have gone to Azimuth also and said, hey, Azimuth, it did it again. It's kind of messed up, and now it's combined them. And, it's a different case. And then he also mentioned the fact that Kevin's ability makes it 1/10 weaker. That's not even the same thing. Kevin is an Osmosian. His ability is to absorb, material like matter and even DNA, and that's how he absorbs it from, the Omnitrix to get these, amalgamation of all these aliens. But his species, or we find out later on, he wasn't a species; it was an experiment. But the way his experimentation works with his genetics is that when he absorbs, he only gets 1/10 of that. That is different than this. That's not the same thing. You're comparing two separate things. You're comparing. You're basically making it sound like Kevin 11's ability to absorb energy and DNA is the same as Ben 10's Omnitrix combining two aliens. That's not the same thing. It was stated specifically for Osmosians they get 1/10 of the power. It was never stated that for the fused characters that they only have 1/10 of that power. I don't know where you got that from. You're using Kevin 11. That's kind of a bad argument. So any of the arguments that he had with the Kevin 11 stuff, I'm not going to use that because, like I said, it doesn't make any sense because Kevin 11's ability is specifically taking 1/10, whereas the watch combining it's not the same thing and it was never stated. And then him also stating that it was consistently worse than other aliens. Where's the other consistency? He only mentioned the Clockwork one, because he had no other arguments for them. And he says, well, even a Chrono Sapien was able to hurt him. Or he's basically saying that, well, that makes the fusion weaker. Or maybe Alien X wasn't as powerful as you thought he was. Maybe that's just the case. Maybe you guys over-exaggerated him and it makes more sense. Because your argument is just that, oh, well, if it hurt him, then that obviously means that his power scale went down more so than, oh, Alien X was never that powerful to begin with. But he says, once again, he mentions the Chrono Sapien time bomb, and I already went against that, and I refuted that point. Clockwork wasn't able to bring back time or be able to handle and refuse that. If that was the case, Ben 10 would have just gone into his Clockwork, because Ben Prime was already, skillful enough of using his aliens and his Clockwork. So why didn't he just do that and prevent it? Clearly, that the other guy needed training specifically to target the problem. Basically, Paradox taught him, hey, look, detect where the anomaly is and then go for that directly. He didn't reverse the effects. So what I'm saying is, the Chrono Sapien time bomb, let's say if he was in his Clockwork form, if it went off, his Chrono Sapien form wouldn't have been able to survive it. The only way he survived it was because that one didn't target that specific Ben 10, because, Vilgax was targeting all the other ones except for that one. So he was allowed to be, he didn't have to worry about it getting wiped out, and thus he was able to use his ability to detect the anomaly and then reverse that. So he reversed the anomaly itself that reversed the effects, bringing back the other Ben 10s, then it brought back the other universes. So technically he didn't survive the Chrono Sapien time bomb. Let's say of Ben Prime did use Clockwork, he wouldn't have been able to survive it either. He would have been obliterated unless he was able to set off his power where he's able to reverse the effects, because he can manipulate time itself. And remember, this bomb specifically is a Chrono Sapien bomb. So he would know how to reverse the effects of a machine that comes from his own species compared to Alien X, who's not from that species. So that's not a real, good argument for that. So him saying the few states are weaker makes no sense, because Ben 10,000 should be stronger, so why would he be using more weak aliens? And if it was the case, like he said with the Dr. Animal, which was a completely different thing, that was the thing that messed up the Omnitrix. Whenever you mess with the Omnitrix, it usually gives you bad results. But Ben 10,000's one, it was a natural cause, that's why it works so well. And they never stated ever with the little symbiote thing that when he uses different parts of the other aliens' powers, that it weakens, it gives you a weaker level of their power. It was never stated that either. So that is also incorrect completely there. And like I said, using Kevin 11, his powers work differently. His thing is unnatural. He's absorbing it unnaturally. That's why it does that. And he absorbs a bunch of them. It was stated for that specific Osmosian specifically only take 1/10. It was never stated that for the Omnitrix itself. And like I said, if that was the case and Ben got it fixed the first time, why wouldn't he get it fixed when he's an adult? You have all these other threats as an adult that are bigger threats, but you're using a more incomplete and weak version of these characters. Makes no sense. And even if Clockwork, let's say, he had the Atomic X mixed with Alien X, how much weaker would it make him? It would make him only like let's say, for let's say logically, how much weaker it would make him? It would only make him half as strong as he was. Because if fusion makes him weaker, it would make him half of it because he's using one half of one of the aliens and the other half of the other aliens. So it will only be half power. Even with half power, with the amount of level of power you guys are stating him to be, he should have been able to survive the Chrono Sapien time bomb anyway still, right? So sorry for that. Somebody came in, so I had to, edit that. But to wrap this up, there's nothing that states that him using half of it would be making him weaker. And even if he was half, let's say he had half of his power, half of Alien X's power should still be strong enough to survive that, if you're saying that he's this powerful. If he wasn't that powerful, then he wouldn't have been able to survive that. And then going on to his final point, which he says, in conclusion, Alien X as a low ball scales to hyperversal, as mid-ball scales to high hyperversal, and as high ball he scales to outerversal, unless you don't ignore the Alpha Nolan Paradox's debut episode, which he was scaling to higher outerversal to boundless. First of all, I watched that episode. I did not see anywhere that showed Alpha Null. I don't know where he got that from. Second of all, even if he has the equation of Alpha Null, that does not mean that there's going to be an infinite amount of dimensions or universes. And even if there are, that doesn't mean he scales to it, because the only argument you had was the Chrono Sapien or the Annihilar wiped out the Ben Prime's universe, which has over 26 universes in 26 dimensions in it, which that's not how dimensionality works. I already explained that. It would be only wiping out the third dimension, so that wouldn't upscale him to that anyway. So no, in conclusion, he is not lowball to hyperversal, because your argument for him being hyperversal is misunderstanding how dimensions work, or higher forms of dimension. Higher forms of dimension are outside of the lower dimensions. So the 3D universes, the entire multiverse is comprised of 3D universes. The 26 dimensions would be outside of those and above it. So that's incorrect. I don't know how we got a mid-ball to high hyperversal and then outerversal. And even Alpha Null, how does that scale to that? Because he didn't survive all of that. And you can say, well, the Chrono Sapien time bomb, clockwork. But like I said, if that was the case, he could have just turned into Alien X and survived that, or turned into Clockwork and survived it. The only reason Clockwork survived in that one was because that was the Ben 10 that was spared from the wipeout, and then since he was spared, he was able to use his ability to target the time anomaly and reverse the time anomaly itself. By reversing the time anomaly, reverse the effects of what that time anomaly did, which was wiping out the multiverses. It wasn't like rewinding time and then rewinding the universe being wiped out. It rewinded the time anomaly itself that created those. So that's why that's the case. So I'm pretty sure I went through all these arguments and refuted them as best as I possibly could. And made my points and my arguments very clear in my disagreements. So yeah, if you guys have any more, I know you guys might have some disagreements in this video, so comment in the comment section down below what you guys disagreed with my arguments here and what you had to say against it, and refuting my points, or what other points you guys have, because I'm pretty sure I went thoroughly through quite a bit. I did rant on for quite a bit and go on this video. Sorry for making it too long. I was hoping to make it less than 30 minutes, but it just kind of got away from me because there's quite a bit of stuff I had to go through and explain it, because this is a lot to go through, honestly. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next time.